subhanahu wa ta'ala will be testing us with many things. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us and give glad tidings to those who are patient. However, there is this verse that we read supposedly every week in Surah Al-Kahf. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Kahf, وَاصْبِرْ نَفْسَكَ مَعَ الَّذِينَ يَدْعُونَ رَبَّهُمْ بِالْغَدَاةِ وَالْعَشِيِّ يُرِيدُونَ وَجْهَهُ وَلَا تَعْدُ عَيْنَاكَ عَنْهُمْ تُرِيدُ زِينَةَ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا وَلَا تُطِعْ مَنْ أَغْفَلْنَا قَلْبَهُ عَنْ ذِكْرِنَا وَاتَّبَعَ هَوَاهُ وَكَانَ أَمْرُهُ فُرُطًا. And patience yourself. Exercise patience with those people who are calling upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala day and night, seeking His pleasure, seeking Allah's pleasure. And don't deviate from them. Don't drift away from them, seeking the pleasures of this life. And don't follow whosoever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would seal his heart. وَلَا تُطِعْ مَنْ أَغْفَلْنَا قَلْبَهُ عَنْ ذِكْرِنَا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put a seal on his heart, so he is not remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَاتَّبَعَ هَوَاهُ, and the one who is following his desires. And the one who is lost, completely lost. وَكَانَ أَمْرُهُ فُرُطًا. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about a different types of patience. A different type of patience. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about patience on good deeds. Patience on the worshipping of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Patience in order for you to be steadfast to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on a 24/7. And that's a complete different ball game. That's a completely different challenge altogether. Because subhanAllah, yes, by the time of catastrophes, by the time of calamities, you may be patient. However, shaitan is always trying to let you drift away, and you have different enemies. Inna shaytana lakum aduwwun fattakhidhuhu aduwwa. Shaitan is your enemy, so consider him as your enemy. And your own nafs, inna an-nafsa la'ammaratun bis-su'. Like many times, you may be fading. You may be losing that interest. You may be losing the courage. You may be losing the consistency on ibadah. And subhanAllah, what to be done at this moment? When you are low, each and every one of us goes low. What to do when you are so low? I'll tell you a few tricks. One, if this is your last day, how would you like your ibadah to be on your last day on earth? There is a reason for which the Prophet ﷺ ordered us, أَكْثِرُوا مِنْ ذِكْرِ هَذِمِ اللَّذَّاتِ, that you increase the remembrance of the interrupter of all types of desires, which is what? Which is death. Why? Because every day the believer, إِذَا أَصْبَحْتَ فَلَا تَنْتَظِرِ الْمَسَاءِ وَإِذَا أَمْسَيْتَ فَلَا تَنْتَظِرِ الصَّبَاحِ. That if you are waking up in a morning, don't wait for the following night. And if you are catching the night, don't wait for the following morning. Which means that you always have this sense of urgency. And more importantly, you always feel that this is your last day on earth. If this is your last day on earth, how would you like to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? On which state? In a state of ghafla? In a state of laghu? In a state of wasting time haphazard? Or in a state of ibadah? So subhanAllah, if you always remind yourself, the moment that you wake up, in the morning, a day, this is a new opportunity for me. However, let me take it as my last day on earth. It's not easy. What I'm just saying is not easy. However, it's a training. You train yourself on this. And subhanAllah, with one more day, Imam al-Hasan al-Basri says, يَا ابْنَ آدَمَ إِنَّمَا أَنْتَ أَيَّامٍ إِذَا ذَهَبَ يَوْمٍ ذَهَبَ بَعْضُكَ. O son of Adam, al-Hasan al-Basri says, O son of Adam, you are nothing but a set of days. If one day goes on, one day is spent, then part of you is gone and you don't have access to it all the way till the day of judgment. So that's number one. The first trick here is consider today as your last day on earth. The second trick, do you like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to see you in a state of ghafla? If you are, for example, about to come to Isha and like whatever happens in the masjid and whatever happens, or Fajr in the masjid, and whatever happens, you are unable to come, or like shaitan is trying to like make you feel lazy or whatever it is. right? Or you are about to open your daily reading for Quran and you are unable to do so, or you've been made busy for whatever reason. Aren't you feeling shy that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would be looking at you? And you are supposed to do the bare minimum. Each and every one of us is not worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as the previous generations or the first generations. We are worshipping Allah very little. Even that little, you are unable to spend for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Don't you feel shy? Forget about doing a sin. I'm just asking you, don't you feel shy that you are, I wouldn't say displeasing Allah, but you have an opportunity to please Allah and you are not catching it? They tell you that in the day of judgment, after the questioning and after the people of paradise are in paradise and after the people of hellfire are in hellfire, if there is one thing that the people of paradise are regretting, what is it? That 1 hour did pass on this earth without them mentioning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For every hour where they don't mention Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they feel regret. Why would you wait over there to feel regret? Why don't you try to be consistent here? Try to always find some time and push yourself. And the third trick, you know, athletes, whenever they are preparing themselves and whenever they are actually working on their workouts and so on, they tell you that the moment that you are so low, what differentiates between a successful athlete and not so successful athlete is the one that is capable of pushing himself when he is so low. This is the time where when you push yourself, there is this barrier, mental barrier, that if you are able to exceed, if you are able to go past, then you are able to beat yourself. And this is applicable to any type of sports, but it's also applicable to ibadah. At the end of the day, it's all about perception. If you tell yourself that I only can come to the masjid once a day, and you are able to, you convince yourself about this, I can guarantee you that half of the days you are not going to be able to come to the masjid to start with. But if you set your bar that, hey, I need to come at least 3 times a day in the to the masjid 3 times a day, at least, then you will not be satisfied if you come twice. But at the very least, this means you came twice. So it's all about the perception. It's all about what is the goal that you are setting for yourself. And I would close with that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Waqi'ah, Allah gives us 3 groups of people. Al-Muqarrabin, Al-Muqarrabun, those who are the closest from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about them. ثُلَّةٌ مِّنَ الْأَوَّلِينَ and what? وَقَلِيلٌ مِّنَ الْآخِرِينَ. ثُلَّةٌ مِّنَ الْأَوَّلِينَ, a group from the early generations and very few from the late generations. And Ashabul Yamin, those who will capture their book with the right hand, there will be a group, ثُلَّةٌ مِّنَ الْأَوَّلِينَ وَثُلَّةٌ مِّنَ الْآخِرِينَ. Right? A group from the early generations and a group from the late generations. And by the way, we are in the late generations. And Ashabul Shimal, may Allah protect us from them. So, the third trick or the final trick that I will tell you, if you are to shoot for being from from Al-Muqarrabin, from the closest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you fall short, you feel like you fall short, you will be what? From Ashabul Yamin. But if you are shooting for being from Ashabul Yamin and you fall short, what would happen? May Allah protect me and you. So, aim high when it comes to the hereafter. May Allah make us among those people who are able to be steadfast, who are able to push themselves, who are always striving for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَالَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلَنَا وَإِنَّ اللَّهَ لَمَعَ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. جزاكم الله خيرا. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.